Yo guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I will be talking about honey don't. Alright, so Honey Don't is the newest movie by Ethan Coen, director of Drive Away Dolls, that I pretty much very much liked last year, and also some other great movies. He is of course one of the brothers of the Coen brothers that have made spectacular films in life. So whenever a new Coen film comes out from whichever brother it is, I will always be excited for that movie. And I particularly really like Drive Away Dolls, and I know not a lot of people loved that film. I was on the spectrum that did love the film, and I have heard a lot of people dislike this film as well, which made me scared, which is very interesting because I always see the Coen brothers as creators of very good movies. Maybe it's just Joel Coen and not Ethan Coen. Maybe that's the case. I'm not gonna judge anything with that. But I was going into this open-minded. I saw the trailer. I saw it had Margaret Qualley. I saw it had, I wanted to say Steve Rogers, but of course Chris Evans. So I was already invested and I could not wait to see this movie. I got to see it in avant-premiere in the Netherlands. And I have to say, it's not that great. Yes, how do I put it? The movie itself is funny. It has a funny story, and the jokes that they tell, they do land. The only problem, and the big problem with this movie, is it's a whodunit story. And it's an 85 or 89 minute long movie that could have been told in around 10 to 15 minutes if you just cut away everything that is unnecessary. And that's the big problem with this movie. Of course, in a whodunit, you always want to create diversions. You always want to get the audience to think about someone or something that might have done it, but in the end, they actually do not have to do anything to do with it. They're just there for the purpose of getting you confused and getting you to rethink all of the things that you think might have been the killer or might have been the kidnapper in this instance. But this movie did it in such a way that you completely could cut out all of these storylines and it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have changed the story whatsoever. Like there's this, I can't spoil, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there are characters and complete storylines that take up around 40% of the movie and that take up a lot of time and is actually quite interesting for some part of it. But it never coincides and it never interferes with the main story about the whodunit where we follow O'Donoghue, so it doesn't really matter in the end. And when the movie finishes and you are like, okay, so what was it for? There happens something, but it doesn't have anything to do with the main story, and then afterwards, when the real conclusion comes, you're never even going back to it. Like, there is an end to that storyline that is really unsatisfying and really weird and really out of the blue, and you never go back to it. And even though it's normal to create diversions, it's just, it's not satisfying if it's so incredibly unnatural in your film. And I feel like this could have been a crazy good 15-minute movie, but as a feature-length film it just fails because of that reason. Everything feels so incredibly unnecessary. The things that they do feel so incredibly forced in just to have something of a story. And even though the characters are quite fun to watch, and even though the jokes work quite well, the story is just so incredibly dull that you just don't give a shit about it. And it's not that the actual whodunit story also is so interesting, because I have a feeling that in that particular part as well, they also did not know where to go. So in the end, they just did something and called it a day. Like the main character, Margaret Qualley, she understands something, or she gets to know something, or actually she wants to ask something to a person, and somehow, some way, it's the end of the movie already and we have to finish it off, and everything gets revealed. It's just like that. It's really interesting to watch. Still, it is fun though. The jokes work quite well, and the characters are quite well, and the actors and the characters and that they portray absolutely saved this movie from being a disaster. It's because of Margaret Qualley, Aubrey Plaza, Charlie Day and Chris Evans that this movie is as fun to watch as it actually is, because they definitely saved the movie for what it tries to do. It's funny because of them. It's interesting because of them. The story doesn't do shit for that. Absolutely nothing. And there's also an incredible amount of sex in this film. Don't mind that, we'll never mind that, especially if it's these characters. Even Chris Evans got his fair share of fun, and well, that man is God as well, so they can all do whatever they want. But I have a feeling that this movie, you could place it on the P-Hub, and it would be exact the same thing as you could normally find on there. The only main differences between, apart from the horniness of course, and apart from all the sex that they do, this time it's actually acted out pretty well, and the characters are interesting, and there's at least some bit of a plot. But for the rest, you could just place it up on that platform and it would just fit on there. Oh, and the biggest difference, of course, is that nobody is stuck in a dryer. That is also there. So yes, in the end, I definitely had fun with this one, with Honey Don'ts, but its story is just so incredibly dull. The characters save it, and they made this movie bearable, and they made this movie fun. But if you take away all of that, there's nothing in this movie to hold it right. But still, the fun was there. So in the end, I'm still going to give this 2.5 stars out of 5. But with the heart, because I liked it so much. I definitely had fun with it. It wasn't the worst watch of the year so far. It was just... It wasn't a good movie, but it will give you some feeling of satisfaction because of how fun it can be. Alright, with that being said, what did you think of Honey Don'ts? Please let me know in the comments down below, because I'm really excited to hear your opinion on this one. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you, and bye bye.